Hi everyone, welcome to the maiden episode of Truth Anchor. I'm your host Eric Odom here in the brand new Liberty News TV studios in Wisconsin. We're in, as the great one Mark Levin would say, an undisclosed bunker, although we'll disclose the state, but we're very happy to be up here in Wisconsin. Just moved into these offices on the 1st, and we're going to start producing a lot of content for you. We have some premium content coming. We'll talk about that over the next couple of weeks. But we're certainly going to be putting out a lot of content, and this show is going to be my podcast show for myself as well as Liberty News to kind of give some thoughts and opinions on the biggest news topics of the day and the week. I'll probably do 2 or 3 of them throughout the week, or try to do as many as I can. Because we're doing so much content, I probably won't be able to do them every day, but definitely want to get them out there as often as possible. So hopefully you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's Liberty News Media. We'll put the link below to subscribe, and just make sure that you follow along when these come out. The topic I'm going to be discussing today is mostly going to focus on the refugee crisis in Europe. And because of that, I want to make sure and throw a plug out there for IranNukeVote.com. Liberty News is owned and operated by Grassfire, and tonight, in fact, when many of you see this episode, you may have already seen the TV ad. IranNukeVote.com. Grassfire is actually running TV ads on Fox News during prime time tonight, and I believe possibly throughout the next few days. I'm not sure exactly when they'll run. I know for a fact they'll run tonight, which is September 10th. Make sure that you go to IranNukeVote.com and add your name. We've got to put pressure on, and as you all know, if you're watching the news, you know that the fight is on, and it looks like Republicans in Washington are actually listening this time and may actually help delay what Obama's trying to do with the Iran vote. So definitely check that out. There's a link down underneath the video if you're watching this on YouTube. Click on that and check it out. It's IranNukeVote.com. So we are really excited to get this going. This show, that there's another episode on the YouTube channel of Liberty News TV with multiple people on our staff are going to start doing shows. We have a Liberty News TV. We have a show called Upload that's going live. And we're really happy to be up here, although I'm not so happy to have the weather here in Wisconsin is already, I think it's going to be 59 degrees tomorrow. So we're already drinking hot tea and putting warm clothes on. So it's that one's kind of coming quick. But we are happy to be up here in Wisconsin and to get out of Illinois finally. We have offices in Virginia as well. So just a lot of really neat stuff is coming up. So make sure you subscribe and follow this as much as possible. Share it. Help us take these videos viral. We've built Liberty News because of our readers and the support that we've gotten. And we hope that you'll continue helping us build to the next level, the next stage, now that we have these new offices and new infrastructure and new studios. So, and again, thank you so much. You guys have made us what we are today, and just can't thank you enough. So getting into the refugee crisis, this, in my opinion, is the biggest story of the news cycle right now. Now, you wouldn't know that by watching CNN or Fox News or any of the mainstream media outlets, but this story, and they'll hit on it now and then, but they're not really digging deep and looking into the behind the scenes of what's really going on. Put a story up this morning on libertynews.com. If you go there, you'll see Muslim refugee Trojan horse will soon burn Europe to the ground. I'm going to throw some stats out there real quick for you. I assume that most of our readers are relatively familiar with what's happening with the refugees coming out of the Middle East into Europe. But just to give you some brief numbers on this, 366,402 refugees have arrived crossing the Mediterranean Sea already this year. 51%, 186,865, have been Syrian. Now, this is all being pitched as a Syrian refugee crisis. Of course, it is. With 51%, that's a significant number coming from Syria. But what the stat that you're not seeing often, especially in mainstream media, is that 12% are coming from Afghanistan. And then there's a divided 29% that's coming in from Nigeria, Iraq, Sudan, and Somalia. This is significant to see almost 500,000 people this year so far come from Arab countries into Europe. And countries like Germany are saying they're expecting up to 800,000 or even 1 million this year alone. There's a number of reasons why this is significant. The first being financial. If you've watched what's happened over the last 6 months in countries like Greece And it's now that cancer of fiscal breakdown is now spreading to other countries in Europe. There is no way possible that there's no mathematical solution for Europe to be able to manage and financially deal with bringing in more than 1 million people from Arab countries by the end of this year. That doesn't even talk about next year or what's to come down the road. That's this year alone. Over 1 million, probably up to 1 million in just Germany, probably a couple million across Europe. These countries are broke. They have no money. Greece almost completely burned to the ground financially just a month or two ago, and they had to take on new debt just to be able to pay some bills. If you look at the history over the last 3 years, the last couple of years, you see examples of what happens when governments don't have the financial ability to create social welfare programs, safety nets, when there's no jobs. Youth, and this happened in Paris, Arab youth come out in the streets and riot, burn cars down, do damage to businesses and loot. This is, go Google this. You know, this has happened several times over the last 3, 5, 6, 10 years. So when in those instances that we've seen in recent history, it would be 150 or 250 or 500 youth out in the streets causing chaos because they have no food, they have no ability to take care of families, they have no job, they have no money, they're not getting any help, and they want to blame somebody, they want to cause problems. Well, imagine what's going to happen when you take 150 or 500 youth and you turn that into 150,000 or 500,000 or 1.5 million coming out of Arab nations into Europe, upset that they can't get food, they can't get the living situation that they want, they can't get the social welfare system to give them what they want. What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be chaos. And Europe just doesn't have the money to deal with this. So it's just absurd that we're all acting like, well, this is a humanitarian thing and it just has to be done. It's not possible for it to be done. It's not a matter of do we want to help, it's a matter of can we help. And if you have two bodies, one is the one that's producing and is surviving and taking care of itself barely, struggling through a tough economy, and then you have those coming from very poor Arab nations who don't bring productivity to the nations that they're coming to, both are going to collapse. So that's going to happen just from a fiscal perspective, not even taking the Muslim perspective into account here. First, looking at the fiscal perspective, it's just not possible. And furthermore, what's really bizarre about this is how this has escalated in a very significant way over the last couple weeks. And if you look at media footage and if you look at videos showing these refugees coming in by the thousands, and in some cases 10,000, they're coming off of big ships, like these big passenger ferries or even freighters in some instances that just have thousands of people on them. And they come in on trains with thousands of people on these trains. I don't even understand how that's, I mean, the idea that this all just happened. It just accidentally happened, or I don't know what exactly they're trying to explain it as, but this was planned in some way, shape, or form. Money and infrastructure and bureaucracies had to be created to deal with what's happened over the last couple weeks. So we're just now hearing about it. It's just now being reported because it's just now being seen, but somebody has known that this was coming at this level, and somebody was preparing for it financially with billions of dollars. Someone was orchestrating infrastructure to be able to check with people when they come off the boats, or what boats were being sent where, what trains were being sent where. This is a very costly and expensive enterprise that's running to be able to deal with these refugees as they come in. And who orchestrated that? How did they know that that was going to happen? And who's paying for it? There's just a lot of questions on this that just don't make sense. And then finally, as you see in the article, on libertynews.com, there is something I think very sinister at work here. I was watching a news show yesterday on a lunch break, and they were showing this whole humanitarian thing. You know, it's all for the children. Same thing they do at the invasion at our southern borders down Texas, Arizona, our border with Mexico. Well, it's the children. We can't leave the children hungry down there. We can't leave the mothers hungry. They're just coming for a better life. That's the argument that the left has used and Republicans have used for years on why we don't address the border situation. Even though I've been down there. I've been on the Rio Grande. I've been at the border. I spent weeks down traveling from California down in Texas. I've seen this firsthand. It's grown men who were able to take care of themselves down south. They can grow their own food. They may not have jobs that build mansions, but they could certainly grow their own food and try to survive and take care of themselves in the south. But they came across the border and now have access to our social welfare system. Well, this is happening in an epic scale in Europe, where it says here in total, let's see, of the European host countries, Greece takes on most of the arrivals with 244,855 so far this year, followed by Italy receiving 115,000. In total, 75%, this is the key right here, 75% of the refugees are reported to be men, 12% women, and 13% children. 75% of the refugees are grown men. So 3 out of every 4 of these refugees are grown men. So if they're fleeing civil war, you would typically think, well, let's get the women and children. It's like the Titanic. The Titanic's sinking, get the women and children on the boats. In this scenario, it's the men who should be there trying to fight for their country. Now, it's hard for me to compare because, you know, I don't know what it feels like. I've been to Israel, I've been in the Middle East, but I don't live there. I'm not from there, so maybe I just view it differently. But if we had civil war, or if we had some sort of invasion or some sort of war here in the United States, I think I would be very accurate in asserting or assuming that most men would pick up arms and fight that battle. Even if it looked like we were going to lose that battle, we would pick up arms and fight. We wouldn't run to another country. So it's really odd to me how 75% of these refugees are grown men from Arab nations, some of which aren't having the wars. I mean, this is not just Syria. Again, this is Afghanistan, Nigeria, Iraq, you know, Sudan, Somalia, which granted, none of these countries are a walk in the park. But to pitch this as a Syrian refugee crisis is inaccurate. This is an exodus from the entire Middle East. And while this is happening, you also have Obama going in there, and I think intentionally, trying to fund, bankroll, and empower Iran, who wants to go to war with Saudi Arabia and Israel. So it's just a toxic soup of U.S.-backed, basically funding and creating infrastructure for terrorism and war across the Middle East, and also this exodus of Muslims out of the Middle East into Europe and the West. And I don't have to tell you, I think our readers are, you know, smart enough to know and want to seek the information that's out there to know that when these refugees are coming to Europe, they are starting riots, they're fighting with police, they're stealing things. When food trucks show up, there's just a plethora of reports of food vans that'll show up when there's, you know, to a crowd of 1,000 refugees, mostly Arab men, try to give food, and instead they just get pushed out of the way, the van gets taken, the food gets taken, and there's just chaos. So there's no respect for the European culture or the culture of the West. It's literally people coming here saying, give me this because I want it, and I don't want to become a part of your culture, but I'm going to live here because I don't want to live where I came from. And it's just, the whole thing is just really bizarre, and it's very, very dangerous. And one more piece of this that I'll bring up. This is that when I say Trojan horse, there's a word for it. It's Hijrah. I believe it's pronounced Hijra, which is it's an Arabic word that describes, in the year 622, the Islamic prophet Muhammad set out on the first Hijra. And in short, it's the act of migrating to other parts of the world with the intention of spreading the grip of Islam. So let me say that again. Hijra is the act of migrating to other parts of the world with the intention of spreading the grip of Islam. Now, every single refugee coming out of the Middle East into Europe may not have that on their mind right now, but for ISIS, and they've admitted this, they have that on their mind. The people that are causing the exodus and that are pushing the exodus to happen, on their minds, the objective is hijra, for the purpose of jihad and ultimately for the purpose of establishing a caliphate on a global scale. So, and ISIS has even said that they've already gotten 4,000 trained killers, trained gunmen into Europe. And we did a report a couple months ago that showed that that these intelligence agencies in Europe are saying that they believe there's up to 8,000 trained members of ISIS or other terror groups already in Europe. So if we know that there are 4,000 or 8,000 ISIS or trained gunmen, trained terrorists in Europe with the intention of creating terror across the globe, how many do you think are there now that there are hundreds of thousands of mostly men coming out of the Middle East into Europe, where they can then come into the United States? And Barack Obama is already saying he wants to bring another 10,000 or so next year from Syria into the United States. So this is, it's crazy that Obama is arming Iran, giving them billions and billions, over 100 billion to funnel into Hamas and various terrorist organizations across the Middle East. And at the same time, this exodus or this hijra of Arab men are coming out of the Middle East into Europe, thousands of whom are members of ISIS, trained gunmen, and want to do harm. And the media is not asking questions about what's really happening. They're just out there showing videos of women and children trying to find food. So I highly encourage you to do research, spread the word on this, because again, I think this is the most important story. This, in combination with the Iran deal, is the most important story of the cycle right now, if not of the, in fact, I think it is the most important story of the year. And we should be spreading the word. We should make sure everyone understands that something's happening here. It's well funded, it's well organized, it's well planned, it has an agenda, and it's not about women and children trying to seek food or a better life. It's about what's happening in the Middle East, the war that's coming, the Iran deal, and ultimately jihad and caliphate in Islam. So, you know, again, it may not be the hundred thousands or multiple hundred thousands or a million people who think that this is the agenda, but it doesn't take all of them for this to be the agenda and the outcome. It only takes a portion of them. So this is very dangerous. Again, go to IranNukeVote.com and make sure you add your name to the petition. Make sure you share this video, spread this through social media, get the word out. For Truth Anchor, the podcast, I'm Eric Odom for LibertyNews.com as well. Make sure you check out the website, bookmark it, get on the email list, and let's make sure that this message goes far and wide. Thank you so much, and until next time, again, this is Truth Anchor with LibertyNews.com.